Welcome back to the Young Creatives podcast. Today you have a full team. We have Michael, our IT support specialist, and drum roll, please. And then we have our newest member of our team, Christian Payton.
Hello.
So she is our newest marketing coordinator. So before we get into the episode, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so my name is Christian. I'm a recent graduate of LSUS, the S is Shreveport. I graduated with a degree in communications and a concentration of public relations.
Okay.
So I'm just pretty much all over the place trying to figure out what I love to do the most.
Yeah. That's fair. I think that's fair for all of us, though. So with that, in today's episode, we'll be talking about what is success and what it means to us and how we feel like we've achieved it as a team, outside of work, or in different areas of our life. So I'm going to start with you, Michael. So starting right off, what do you think success is and why do you think that way?
I think, I don't know. I really think that success is just kind of subjective. I think it's different for everybody. And like I said, I feel like it's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like esoteric? Is that the right word? I don't know. Kind of weird and cryptic, I guess is a better word.
Yeah.
It's something that people are always trying to define, always trying to achieve, but it never is something that I think there is one concrete thing for. So I think it's more of the idea of the pursuit of something versus an actual concrete thing.
Right.
But I think, I think theoretically a success would just be living your life to the fullest, like living a full life and being, happy. And, that whatever that means for you, that's that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I can agree with that because I think a lot of people have troubles defining non-tangible things like happiness and joy. And so it's just like a lot, and it's different for everybody. So Christian, what do you think?
I would agree with the both of you. I think that for me personally, success is just being happy and feeling like I lived a full life and doing everything that my heart truly desires. So Beyonce has a song, and I know they ask her in the song, what is success? And she literally says to be happy. And I feel like that's just like such a genuine answer. Success is just to be happy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think with that though, it's it changes. And so for me throughout my life, success went from graduating high school to graduating college to getting a full-time job. And now I'm like, well,
what's next?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that as you get older, what makes you happy changes because you're constantly growing as a person. So, of course, success is going to change or look different the older that you get. But for right now, I would just say, just being happy. And, of course, happiness changes, but I think we all would agree on that overall thing.
Absolutely. No, I can totally agree. And it's very different because going back to being such a young person, right? Like success would be getting 3 pieces of candy at Halloween, honestly, at one door, not total.
The big sizes too.
Yes, the big size candy bars, right? And so now success is so different. And branching off of that, I kind of want to get it a little bit deeper. So do you think success is now, how do I put it? It's not as simple as it used to be. And do you think that makes it harder to enjoy the bigger things in life? Like I woke up today or I have somebody in my life that really appreciates me. And how do you think that has been a factor in your life? Without saying without appreciating the little things, how can you see your stresses build up, or like different things along that line?
That was good. Okay, so I feel like success is, or just like appreciating or knowing what success is, it definitely is different now, because I feel like we have all these outside factors, or we have outside factors like our families. With us all being like young people, we have family. I'm sure a lot of us have family members that are constantly telling us like what we should be doing. So we're looking at the success that we think is like, oh, this is huge, and it's almost being belittled by someone that has lived all this life and has all these experiences, whereas we haven't lived as much life, so we don't have the experiences that they have.
Absolutely. What do you think, Michael?
I don't know. I'm kind of struggling to come up with an answer. I think I'm a little confused by how you asked it. Can you try and reword it to me a little bit?
So, how do you compare your big successes to somebody who has already maybe potentially done it, but who is already you see as being someone super successful? So, if I'm comparing like yourself, you get this like huge opportunity with doing like remote work for Amazon head person, right? And so versus somebody who did that potentially 5 years ago and now is moving on to something bigger than that. How would you say that that has affected your life?
I mean, everybody, I think, hits certain milestones in their life and at different points. You know, everybody grows up and experience things, you know, in a different way, a different rate. And, you know, sometimes we have ourselves, you know, we have a part to play in that. And sometimes we don't, you know, things just happen, as it were. But I learned a while back when I was in college, after I had like a really big failure, actually. I was really betting on myself for something, and I thought I had done something a lot better maybe it wasn't that. I don't really know what happened, but I lost an opportunity that I had, and I was really upset about it. And I was like, you know, I could be upset, and I can be upset, and that's fine, but I can't just let this be the moment that defines me and my ability to succeed. So just kind of as a way to distract myself, like it was a job that I wanted that I didn't get, and I was really, really hoping to get it.
Right.
So like after that happened, so I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to let this define me. I'm just going to go out and find another job, right? And about 3 hours later, I had a job offer. So yeah, and I mean, that was when I worked at Starbucks, and I worked there for the rest of my college years. So yeah, and like I said, I mean, it went from a failure to a super good opportunity it's like that got me through college. And, you know, even then that's always just a job you can go back to and make some money. So, you know, good skills, learn, you know, yeah.
Absolutely. And kind of branching off of that, I think the way that we think about our successes need to be so flexible, because put it this way, like before I met Trevor, I saw myself staying in Bismarck, like marrying somebody out in Bismarck, out in North Dakota, and having a job there and not moving across the country and all of these other things. But I would have never seen this side if I wasn't open to it. And so with that, how, like specifically with you, Christian, how have you seen that in your benefit with your transition out of college?
Being flexible is definitely something that I had to learn. It's funny because a few weeks before I got this job, I'd pretty much I had like a come to Jesus meeting with, you know, I had to, because I felt like I was applying to almost every single thing that there was in the Shreveport-Bossier area, and I just wasn't getting any feedback. And so I had to tell myself that I had to like take a step back and really appreciate the time that I was having to, I guess, like grow as an individual before I had to be a professional or, just before I had to be all these things that were expected of me. I felt like I needed to really appreciate the moments that I was in. And so now, I would say, girl, I'm sorry. I completely lost my train of thought.
No, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Can you repeat your question?
So how has the transition from college benefited you with flexibility and success?
Honestly, I'm not sure if I would say that the transition from college benefited me.
Okay.
From like with success. Aside from me being able to take time for myself to like really decide like what I would want to do out of life, there are so many like outside stress factors. So I'm not really sure if I really got to benefit from that or from what I would think success was or what it looked like for me.
Right. Okay. Got it. Yeah, because the biggest thing, me and Michael have talked about this before too, how we went through the same thing that you went through, applying job after job after job. And
how many people I know who did the same thing?
Yeah.
It's almost like disheartening because you're not taught that in school that's going to happen. Like you just think that, okay, I went to high school, did great in high school, went to college, did great in college. So when I get out of college, I'm going to have a job. And that's not the reality for a lot of people. Like, and so then you start thinking, okay, I'm not successful. I'm not going to be successful because this isn't lining up the way it was supposed to line up. This isn't what everybody told me it was going to look like. Absolutely. So you start feeling like a failure, but you're not. Like that's something that I had to tell myself. What's for you is going to be for you. Like you just said, Michael, the job that you wanted that you didn't get, you started to, get down on yourself because you didn't get it, but that job wasn't for you. Like what's for us is already like destined for us, I believe. Yeah. And so that's what keeps me going on the journey to success.
Absolutely. Go off. And it's so hard because so many people go through this. And I swear, you guys, anybody who's listening who's like, this doesn't happen, there's 3 people in this room that can tell you this has happened within the last, 2 years, 3 years? Yeah. And so it is so real, and you need to be so flexible in your successes.
And be kind to yourself. Yeah. Because it's not going to pan out the way you think it's going to pan out. If it does, like, congratulations, yeah. But if it doesn't, which I hate to say 9 times out of 10 it's not, you just have to be, like, gentle with yourself. And learn to be flexible. That's super important, like you were saying.
Absolutely. Because the amount of jobs I probably applied to around 150 in the Shreveport area. I mean, I did it like right from September to January. That's how many I did total. Yeah. But the fact is it was just like I didn't understand what was going on, and I constantly blamed that on myself.
And let's not even bring up that this happened after or during a pandemic that nobody knows when we're going to get out of. Yeah. So finding a job was even harder because of that.
And college, because I graduated in May of 2020. So yeah, I literally, like, my last quarter at college was just COVID. Yeah. That was it.
A frenzy.
Yep. Yeah. And so, long story short, your successes, whether it be out of college, going straight into the workforce, going from trade school, doing whatever it might be, make them very, very small from the get-go, because those small ones are going to build up into bigger opportunities eventually. And whether it be like I got an interview to I got a second interview to I got a job position, like, just appreciate the fact that, okay, things are working because I'm working towards my success if I really, really want it, right? And so with that, how do you guys, like, what would you say to people that are going through something right now, whether it be a job search, applying to schools, different projects, whatever it might be? What would you say to them when they feel like they just keep trying and trying and trying and trying and nothing's working?
I would say, like I said before, like, have patience and don't overwhelm yourself. Like if you feel like you're trying and like there's just like dead end after dead end, like maybe take a step back and reevaluate why you're going after what you're going for, what you want to do with whatever you're trying to get or achieve, and try again. Like maybe try something different, but really just taking a step back and not overwhelming yourself, because really stressing yourself out it's not going to help or fix whatever the situation or problem is at hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And
what was the question again? I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. So what would you say to people who are trying different things and they just feel like it's not going anywhere?
So I mean, the worst thing that people can say is no, I think. And I mean, if you hear that a lot and you can bounce back from that, like, you know, it happens. And like you, I think I applied in a span of like 2 or 3 months, like 120 jobs.
Right.
And, you know, same thing. And it was really hard for me to not beat myself up. And I kind of did. Yeah. But there came a point where I was just like, you know, this is just kind of part of it. And instead of focusing on how bad it's going, I'm just going to kind of develop it into a habit until something works. And then in the meantime, just worry about getting by day to day, you know, making sure that, you know, like while I'm doing that, I'm still like, I got everything else in affair. So I can just be like, okay, I'm just going to keep this job search going and appreciate everything that I've got in the meantime and just, you know, live basically until something works out. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Something else that I did was when I was doing like job searches, I would set aside a certain amount of time a day that I was going to apply for jobs, because I was not going to stress myself out all day applying for jobs when I felt like all I was getting was no's. So maybe like setting aside a certain amount of time and then saying after this window, I'm going to give myself like a break.
Mm-hmm. Or I'm not going to touch it until
I'm not touching
next week or tomorrow or whatever it might be. And so with that, I want to go into what happens when you do achieve what you're looking for and how success can look after that. So I know when we came up with this episode idea, me and Christian, we were just talking about different potential episode ideas, and she said she wanted to talk about like what success is. And I was like, okay, like what does that mean? And she was, you want to?
I don't remember what I said.
So she talked about how her life successes were very non-linear.
Right. I did say that. And I feel like most people's life successes, not most people's, nobody's life successes are going to be linear. Like nobody's definition or nobody's success is going to look like the next person's. And even like from a personal stance, you'll feel like you're taking a step forward and then immediately taking a step backwards. That does not mean that you're not successful or that you're not going to be successful. It's just like a learning process. I like to think that if I'm knocked on my butt, then okay, I didn't learn the lesson that I was supposed to learn in this state or in this whatever. So yeah, it's not going to be linear. It doesn't look the same for anybody.
Absolutely. And so me and Michael have had a lot of these moments at Revision, just with different programmings and coding and CSS, and we could go on, but Michael, just give us an example of like how that has like really, really transformed like into appreciating the small successes at Revision.
Yeah, so sometimes it's like when I think it's, in my experience, those small victories that actually really mean a lot, so thereby making them big victories, are usually like when everything else has already kind of gone to crap, right? Like everything else is just, you know, falling apart and just like things keep adding up, and then it's like you get one of them solved, or, you know, like I said, you figure like one part of it out, and then it just like that feels so good because it's like it's that payoff of like, okay, this struggle that I've done isn't for nothing, you know. It was stressful, but it's like that for me. It's like that relief of like, okay, well, at least it was worth it. At least I did what I wanted to do. Like it could be worse. I could have not done what I wanted to do. And, that, again, that comes in a lot of different ways. I think it comes by knowing what you want and like being able to say, I've achieved this thing and it's going to help me get to what I want.
Yeah.
And I think that, especially for me, because like I have plans for what I want to do over the next few years in my life, going back to school and all. And I know that's a really big, daunting thing. And it's not something that I'm just going to be able to do. But like when I see like, what I'm doing now, knowing I'm working towards that, it's like, okay, it may not be tomorrow, but I'm everything I'm doing right now is setting myself up for that. So even if it takes all that time, when I get to do what I want to do, not that's like that I'm not doing things that I want to do right now, but like when you finally get that big goal, that big thing, it just makes everything feel like worth it. Like every single high and low, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. There has been way too many times I can count on my hands and fingers of moments where me and Michael just jump up and scream because it was one line of code that really was like make it or break it for an entire project.
That's always what it is. It's always one thing or like one character,
yes,
one little like piece of sand in the machine, and it just grinds it to a halt.
Absolutely.
And listening to y'all just go back and forth and talk about this literally just like proves that what we said earlier, that success changes as your passions or as you get older, grow or whatever, your definition of success is going to change because you're both talking about success in coding or small victories at work.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is, and I want to stress this, is success is so like I don't want to say non-reachable, let me tell you. It's like you feel like you reached it, but then you add another like, okay, let's do this next. And then you do that, and then you're like, okay, but we're going to do this next. And so in reality, how do you really, really, really know, like, okay, I made it? Or like, yeah, I'm successful now.
Well, I don't think I ever really feel like just like 100% successful, but when I do something that's good, it's that sense of relief again where it's like, okay, like I got something, you know what I mean? Like something was nice.
Right.
I feel like really the ultimate success or feeling like you've just really been successful, I feel like most people won't really realize that or understand it, the concept of it, until they really take a step back and look inward and then say, okay, well, I lived this life and I've done X, Y, and Z. I have no regrets. I feel like when you can live your life saying you have no regrets and you're pretty much grateful for everything that, you've been a part of or that you've done, I feel like that's when you can say, okay, I've lived a successful life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, because as somebody who like constantly is like very, very self-criticizing to themselves, it's just like, I could be better at this, or I could do this one other thing, or I should have taken on this one more project. And so even seeing like success in my way to say no, because I'm very much of a person where it's like, yes, I'll do this for you. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll like whatever. But being able to say I'm busy or maybe ask somebody else for this right now has like helped me so much. And I feel like it's been helping me with like the quality of the work, overall quality of life, honestly. And so how have you guys seen yourselves like reflected on like your own being outside of jobs, outside of coursework, projects, all that stuff? How have you seen yourself accomplish something within you as a person, and how has that affected your life?
You can take the lead on this one, Michael.
I don't know. That's kind of a deep question.
Yeah, that was real deep.
I don't know. I feel like the points where I feel like I know I'm doing something right are the points when things are like really big and changing, and you know, like people in your life are coming and going, and you know, it's like you trust your gut on some things, and then you just go for it, and you're like, I'm just, you know, gonna kind of take my hands off the reins of life and just let things be what they will. And I find that always at those points in my life, like, again, where I just kind of have that moment of like, everything will be okay. It's usually very soon followed by just good things happening. Now that I've said it, I'm probably going to have a bunch of bad things happen to me today. No. Yeah, I think I take kind of solace in that, because I think that's one of the only constant and common things about humans, you know, being that we're all so different, is that feeling of, you know, kind of jumping into the unknown and, you know, having to learn to trust that everything is just going to be okay. You know, that's, I think, something that a lot of people kind of lose sight of sometimes, is to just kind of trust in that sense of self-preservation. At least for me, that's how it feels for me.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think, like I said, I think change is constant, and I think, you know, success changing, everything like that, you know, it just means that you haven't stagnated. Because if you stayed one way for the rest of your life, then it's like, what's the point?
You haven't lived.
That's lame.
Yeah,
right.
You haven't lived.
And I feel, you know, I was talking, this was years ago when I was in college, and I was talking to a friend of mine who was a couple years older than me. And she was like, I think I had about just turned 21, and she had like just turned 23. And she was like, yeah, like, I know I'm still going through it, but you changed so much in these years. And every time, like now, like I look at myself 2-3 years ago and who that person was, and I'm like, wow, that's so not me. I mean, like, it's there. Like, there are parts of me that are still that person, but it's like, as a whole, you know, as a concept, I'm a very different person. But that's okay. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, the past is the past for a reason. There's no point in trying to always focus on, you know, trying to bring it back. You know, because you can just take the good things from the past and take them with you into the future. They don't have to just be the past, as it were.
Of course. You're evolving. We're evolving as humans. I agree with Michael, though, with everything that he said. I feel like what you were speaking of, if I'm wrong, you can correct me, but just like having peace within, like knowing that everything's going to be okay. Like you're just going to ride the wave of life.
Yeah.
Like you've done what you can, and then like you sit back and you just put your hands up, and you have peace, and you know that everything's going to be okay at the end of the day.
The only thing you can control always is yourself. You know what I mean?
That's it.
Like, that's the thing. Like, life can do it, but all you know, the one thing you always have control over is your reaction to it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Dang, okay. Absolutely. So, yeah, man, like, you guys are incredible, honestly. And, like, it's been difficult to talk about, like, so we had an episode on the fear of failing, too. If you haven't listened, check it out. But just talking about that comparing to success, I think it's so critical as young people to just be able to say, okay, like, I can fail, and that's okay. And it might take a while for me to do this outside of my perspective that I see it being done. And that's okay. Because overall, I think as young people, we just get ourselves worked up and worked up and worked up. And we're just like, oh my gosh, things aren't going the way I thought it was, or things aren't going the way so-and-so wants it to. And that's why I feel like I'm failing, because it's not going the way this person expects me to pan out. And so, one more question. Have you been in a situation where you've done something very non-traditional and your parents or your coworkers or your friends are just like, that's not how it's supposed to be done, or blah, blah, blah? Like,
Of course. I live my life the non-traditional way.
And how has that, like, made you feel? Because obviously you did that because you wanted to. And how has that, I guess, affected you as...
I just means I have no regrets. You know what I mean?
Before I started here, I was working somewhere, and I just kind of knew that if I didn't leave, then I never would. So I left. And so
that's exactly what happened to me in New Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was just being there. Not even just having that, but just being there.
And just leaving. And that didn't make sense to anybody. It didn't really make sense to me after I did it. In the moment, I was like, this is the right thing to do. And a few days after, I was like, I did the right thing. And then like weeks passed, and I'm like, still no job. I did not do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And my mom didn't understand it at all. I had very few people that understood why I chose to do what I did. Mm-hmm. But looking back at it, I just kind of feel like sometimes taking the non-traditional route and doing things that you know are for the betterment of you as a person, you just got to go with it. Even if you can't explain it or put it into words, but you know that in your heart of hearts, you're doing it because like it's just for you. Like there are no words to describe it or explain it. Sometimes you just got to go with it.
Sure.
You just got to go with it sometimes, like with no rhyme or reason.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, I did the same thing. Did a very last minute elopement with Trevor.
That's huge.
And that's very, very huge. And it was, put it this way, it was really hard because it was something I really, really wanted for us. But obviously I'm going to go back and look at it and be like, my family wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And that's super hard because I'm a very family-orientated person. But looking at the way that they support not only us, but him as an individual to this day without, like, holding that against him, like, I know I did the right thing. Yeah. And in the moment, was it scary? Absolutely it was. But the thing is like, I knew I had to do it. And sometimes you have to do things that you are either scared out of the crap for, or you're scared because you might fail, or other different factors. But there's a very good chance that you're doing it for a very reasonable way.
Yeah. I feel like that's like a key in becoming an adult, like doing things that don't really make sense to other people and being terrified while you do it, but still doing it.
And holding a calm face while you do it, too.
And also, I feel like with success, like, it's easy to talk about failure, but you should, as an like, for me personally, I'm not scared to fail because I feel like it's a learning process. I don't look at failure as just like, oh, I didn't do this or I didn't do that, or I'm just like laid out on the ground. I feel like when you fail, like, you bump your head and it gives you the chance to really reevaluate and try again. So just really redefining what failure is to you will help you decide what success is.
Yeah, absolutely. Got anything, Michael?
I agree with what she said.
Yeah.
I actually don't have anything to add.
Yeah. She hit it on the nail. So, absolutely. So, long story short, success is very nonlinear. It comes when it's supposed to. And when it doesn't come when you expect it to, don't freak out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't let it chap you too bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, you two, for joining or doing this podcast with me. I really do appreciate it.
It was fun.
But yeah, so we're super excited. We got a lot of good content coming out within the next couple of weeks. We're officially booked out into December already. So we're very excited. But yes, so thank you guys for joining the Young Creatives podcast this week. Make sure you tune in next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.